What's up, everybody? It's your boy Doody back again with another video, and this time we're taking a look at our boy DSP's daily rap video off of his full day of RPGs. As you guys know, in the earlier stream our boy Phil played Final Fantasy, and then on the night stream he played Diablo. And of course, whenever Phil plays an RPG, he makes it super boring. And of course, the positivity and the liquidity is just low. And he did okay. Thankfully, one or two dents did come and rally. Actually, you get your 1 minute man that came out on the first stream and helped him get 20 bucks, which I think he ended up getting like 60 bucks on that playthrough. And then on the night stream, Lisa Lou, if it wasn't for her, oh my lord, that stream would have been disastrous. I think he ended up with like 54 bucks. And Lisa Lou came in and dropped a $50 tip. So if it wasn't for Lisa Lou, our boy Phil would have been cracking $4. Let's see what Phil has to say.
Streaming day, a completely different kind of streaming day from the last two actually that I've done. Today was RPG day, where we started off with a Chill Level 1 podcast where for a very lengthy amount of time I tried to explain and or justify my opinions on Tears of the Kingdom. Now that I've played Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for about 40 hours, I wanted to share my full thoughts. At this point, I'm actually heading, or at least I'm getting very close to the end game of the game. And, you know, it's funny because it's not like I hate the game. I don't. But I'm very honest about my opinions on it. And I'm critical of certain things in the game, while others I actually am praising. But for a lot of people, that's just not good enough. The fact that I'm not agreeing with the entire mainstream opinion on the game and saying that it's an unstoppable masterpiece, game of the year shoo-in, is pretty upsetting for some. It's kind of ridiculous in my opinion, because I feel like, you know, you should at least, even if you don't agree, in life you should respect other people's opinions and not just say, well, you're just wrong, which is what a lot of people have been doing when I try to lay some criticism on the game. Anyway.
I don't think many people have issues with you laying criticism on the game. The thing that people have issues with of your criticism, like I do, is the criticism only seems to come with games where you believe the support isn't there. And Zelda is a prime example of it. I mean, I think maybe the first two streams you did okay with support, but then after that it just cratered. I mean, you're lucky if you crack 50 bucks on tips in a stream. And that's the issue. Whenever support is low, you then become highly critical of the game. Same thing with Final Fantasy. You played it yesterday, the support wasn't there. I think you made it out with like 60 bucks, of course with a 1 minute man tip, but the support wasn't there. And then it just seems that you level all of these criticisms as soon as the support starts drying up. And that's what people have a problem with you, Phil. Not your actual opinion per se. It's just, well, this is my opinion. It's not your opinion, it's why you're making the opinion. And the opinion always seems to happen whenever support is slow on a stream. You don't criticize games that may be okay as long as the support's fine. If the support's fine, you're good. You may say a couple things here and there, but you don't try to lambaste the game like you do with Zelda. And the mere fact that you're still talking about a tweet from a month ago just shows how thin-skinned you are and how you don't like when people criticize your opinion. That's the problem here. You're the only one still talking about Zelda, to be honest. You know, and it all stems back from that tweet where you were criticized about your gameplay nearly a month ago that got, I think it's up to about 10 million views. So, Phil, no one has a problem but you.
Big lengthy discussion about that on today's show. I hope you give it a look if you're interested. If you don't care about Zelda, then obviously that's not going to be a major discussion you care too much about. But pretty much the meat of today's podcast. Then we moved back into Final Fantasy 16. And to be honest, admittedly, I'll say the first half of today's stream, I was getting bored. Like, it just seemed like it was way too many cutscenes again, even though I thought we had been done with that after having the premiere stream the other day. It was just so many cutscenes. You know, I want to play for more than, say, 5 to 10 minutes at a time before I have to wait another 20 minutes to play the game, and it just didn't want that. It kept throwing story, and even the gameplay elements. A lot of them were icon fights. You know, the big summoned monsters fighting each other. And that's fun and all, except that you realize it's basically just an overblown QuickTime event. There's not much to it, at least at this point in the game. So, were there boss fights? Yes. Were any of them really epic or memorable? Maybe one. The rest of them were just kind of meh. In fact, I'm already fighting some repeat bosses, or I guess you'd call them mini bosses, which is kind of weird that I'm not even 8 hours. Like, now I am 8 hours into the game, but that we're fighting repeat mini bosses already is a little odd. But finally, here's what I'll say. After having played it all day today, the last half hour of the stream, the game finally became, for me, the first time that I was playing this game that I felt like I was playing Final Fantasy, because finally the game says, okay, here's an area to go to. And even though it's linear, there's side areas you can go to in this part where you can explore. It reminded me of like the open world of Final Fantasy 13 for a bit, where you could see the enemies, you're attacking them, and there's optional kind of almost mini boss fights. There's cheaper, weaker enemies you can kill in parties, but then there's like one big enemy you have to fight at once and team up on. Now I kind of have a party. It's me and another person and Torgal the dog all teaming up, so it's 3 people working together now, which is nice.
Okay, I'm gonna lay some heavy criticism here on Phil. Okay. Again, he's criticizing the game when he's not getting any support. So yesterday when he played the game, the support was slow through the whole game. It was just sad. The only thing he got was a 1-minute man tip, that's it. And he laid heavy criticism on the game while he was playing. He was talking about he was bored. He was talking about how he doesn't like the game because it's too linear. After spending 1 hour on his podcast talking about how Zelda is too big and is open world and you really don't have any guide or directions, he's now complaining that Final Fantasy is too linear. It walks you too much. It guides you too much. And the criticism came when support was low. But as soon as support picked up near the end, I think he ended up with like $60 or $65 towards the end. Then the game got fun. Then the game got interesting. You can see when he plays the game and the tips are low, he's miserable, he's telling people off, he's annoyed. But as soon as those tips kind of, a little rally happens, he perks right up. He gets so happy. And again, that is the criticism that I have against you, Phil. Not your opinion, but the fact that your opinion is always couched on what you're making on a stream. If you were making your tier 3 tip goal every stream, you wouldn't care what you were playing, you wouldn't care what you were doing. Everything would be great and everything would be happy and you would be extra super happy. But since that's not happening with Diablo, that's not happening with Zelda, that's not happening with Final Fantasy, you now feel the need to criticize these games. And you're doing a little bit with Street Fighter, but Street Fighter support's been okay. It's still up there. But as soon as Street Fighter starts dropping in support, you're going to start highlighting all the terrible things about Street Fighter.
And there was optional stuff to explore, optional items. So I played it for about a half an hour. I was like, wow, this actually feels like a Final Fantasy game to me now. The first time in about 7.5 hours that I felt like I'm playing Final Fantasy finally. Now, I don't know if the game will keep that up or if only certain areas of the game will have this exploration feel, fighting enemies in the open world kind of optionally, rather than just you're walking down a corridor and you're forced to do this because it's in your way. I like having some control and choice. So here's what I'll say. 8 hours into Final Fantasy 16, I don't hate the game. I'm not massively in love with it. It just kind of is decent at this point. I'm more interested in the story than anything else. But now that we just got to this part, the gameplay is starting to shine. Now I have, by the way, 2 elemental abilities I can switch between. So that's 4 combat abilities, plus some ability to like zip in and out of combat with the different elements, plus, team ups with your party members and stuff. So it's getting better. The further in I get, the game is getting better. But man, those extended length cutscenes are a drag. I don't know why they put in that many cutscenes. Even in the first, the next 3 hours today, I think half the stream was cutscenes again. The late stream tonight was Diablo 4, first time in a while, and we focused on finishing Act 2 and going into Act 3, and that's literally what we did. We finished Act 2, pretty much a big boss fight at the end, and then we went into Act 3 and got big progress, actually went into a couple little dungeon areas, fought a big boss at the end that was actually challenging and almost killed me. For the most part, I haven't really died in Diablo besides maybe once or twice. This boss was really hitting for a big damage, and I think the only reason I survived it is because, number one, I had a shield that temporarily would allow me to absorb damage so I could recuperate, and number 2, because I was ranged. I almost feel like if that was a boss that I was fighting when I was like a melee class up close, I would have got my ass handed to me. But I got it done. And, overall, good streaming day, decent support today. Thank you to anyone who was on the streams and chilled with me for an RPG day. Now, tomorrow, one brief thing. I had technical difficulties today, and they were very weird. So, I don't even know how to really explain what happened. Here's what happened. After I finished my first stream, I went to upload all the videos. And I queued them all up for upload, and I walked away and went and had dinner with my family. And, I come back, about 15 minutes before my night stream to...
Phil. I would ask you to please look up the definition of a family. You can check Oxford, you can check Webster, you can even check Google. Every single one of them has the same definition. And you do not meet that definition of a family, Phil. So please stop saying family. You can say my spouse and my pet. That's perfectly fine. But when you're saying family, you're not using it appropriately, Phil. So please stop. It's quite embarrassing. Anyway, he goes on to talk about some stupid setup issue that he's had where he can't load his files, and he had to jerry-rig it a certain way to get it to work. No one cares. I'm sure the 120 people that are going to watch your podcast are happy, but no one else is. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out.